Little Italy, a concrete jungle, crowded, unforgiving. The streets are alive with the hustle and bustle of daily life, where every corner tells a story of struggle and survival. The air is thick with the aroma of Italian cuisine, but beneath the surface lies a world of hardship and dreams deferred. Johnny Malone was born here. He knew hunger. He knew poverty. Survival meant fighting, every day. Johnny started small, petty thefts. A loaf of bread here, a wallet there. It was never about the thrill, but about necessity. Each stolen item was a step towards another day of survival. Quick jobs for older, tougher kids. He learned fast, watching, listening, absorbing every lesson the streets had to offer. The older kids saw potential in Johnny, a raw determination that set him apart. They took him under their wing, teaching him the unspoken rules of the urban jungle. The streets were his classroom, violence his teacher. One night, everything changed. The darkness of the alleyways became a stage for a pivotal moment in Johnny's life. The shadows whispered secrets, and the streetlights cast eerie glows on the faces of those who dared to walk these paths. A rival gang, a fight. Tensions had been building for weeks, and tonight, it all came to a head. The air was electric with anticipation, and the sound of footsteps echoed ominously through the narrow streets. Johnny, outnumbered, pulled out a switchblade. The cold steel felt reassuring in his hand, a lifeline in the chaos. He knew this was a fight for his life, and there was no room for hesitation. The glint of steel in the dim light. It was a sight that struck fear into the hearts of his enemies. The blade, a symbol of his resolve, shone brightly, reflecting the harsh reality of the world he lived in. He fought with a ferocity that shocked even the veterans. Each move was calculated, each strike precise. The fight was brutal, a dance of survival where only the strongest would emerge victorious. That night, Johnny the Knife Malone was born. His name, once just another in the crowd, now carried weight. It was a name that would be whispered in fear, a name that marked the beginning of a legend, a name whispered in fear. The streets of Little Italy had a new ruler, and everyone knew it. Johnny's rise to power was swift and unrelenting. He was ruthless, efficient. Every move he made was calculated. Every decision a step towards solidifying his place in the hierarchy of the streets. He had learned the hard way that mercy was a luxury he couldn't afford, and he would do anything to survive. The streets had shaped him, molded him into a force to be reckoned with. Johnny the Knife Malone was a product of his environment, a testament to the harsh realities of life in Little Italy. His story was just beginning, and the streets would never be the same. Word spread. Johnny's reputation grew. He was fearless, deadly, the perfect soldier for the underworld. Tony Russo, the boss of Little Italy. He heard the whispers, saw the potential in the young thug. Russo took Johnny under his wing. Years passed. Johnny learned the trade, the rules of the game, loyalty, betrayal. He rose through the ranks, always by Russo's side. Russo became a mentor, a father figure. Johnny, his most trusted enforcer. The knife was always there, a silent promise, a threat. Johnny thrived in Russo's world. He was respected, feared. He had money, power, everything he ever craved. He built a crew, loyal, ruthless. They ran the streets, gambling, protection, whatever Russo needed. But power is intoxicating. It whispers promises, sows seeds of ambition. Johnny tried to ignore it. He owed Russo everything, didn't he? The whispers grew louder from the shadows, from within his own ranks. Johnny, they said, you deserve more. You are the true power. The city felt different. The air was thick, heavy with suspicion. Johnny couldn't shake the feeling. He was being watched. He saw shadows lurking at the edge of his vision, heard whispers in crowded rooms. Paranoia gnawed at him, a constant itch. His men seemed different too, nervous, their glances shifty. Were they hiding something? Was it all in his head? The whispers grew louder. They spoke of betrayal, of plots against him, of a serpent in his midst. But who? Section 5. The Glimmer of Paranoia. Frankie, Johnny's right-hand man, his closest friend. They had been through it all together, blood brothers. Or so Johnny thought. Lately, Frankie had been distant, preoccupied. He avoided Johnny's gaze. His smile didn't reach his eyes. One night, Johnny caught him, a whispered conversation in a darkened hallway, Frankie's face pale in the dim light. He was talking about Johnny, betraying him. The whispers were right. The serpent had a name. Frankie, his own blood, betrayal cut deep, deeper than any knife. Section 6. Seeds of Doubt. Rage. It consumed Johnny. It was a fire that burned deep within him, threatening to explode at any moment. He wanted to confront Frankie, crush him. The betrayal was too much to bear. Frankie, his once trusted ally, had crossed a line. But a cold calculation held him back. Was it a trap? Johnny's mind raced with possibilities. He couldn't afford to act rashly. Was Frankie just a pawn? The thought gnawed at him. Could there be a bigger game at play? Was there something more at play here? The pieces didn't quite fit. Johnny's instincts told him there was more to the story. Someone else pulling the strings? He started watching Frankie closely. He noticed subtle changes. A new watch. Expensive clothes. Frankie was living a life he couldn't afford on his own. Where was he getting the money? The question lingered in Johnny's mind. It didn't add up. The truth hit Johnny like a punch to the gut. Frankie wasn't acting alone. He was being funded, supported by someone with deep pockets, Russo. It had to be him. Russo had always been threatened by Johnny's power, his influence. He was threatened by Johnny's power. Russo saw Johnny as a threat to his empire, a rival that needed to be eliminated. He was using Frankie to eliminate the competition. Frankie was just a pawn in Russo's game, a tool to bring Johnny down. Johnny knew he had to be careful. The stakes were higher than ever. Johnny couldn't let his emotions cloud his judgment. He needed a plan, a way to outsmart Russo and protect his own. The seeds of doubt had been planted, but Johnny was ready to face whatever came next. Section 7. The trap is sprung. Johnny decided to play along. He pretended he suspected nothing. He acted normal. But inside, the fire of betrayal burned. He called a meeting. Frankie, of course, and a few other trusted men. They met in a secluded warehouse. No witnesses. The air was thick with tension. Johnny could feel it. He watched Frankie closely, looking for any sign of guilt, any flicker of fear. "We have a problem," Johnny began, his voice calm, controlled. He laid out a fictional plan, a risky heist. He needed Frankie's help. Section 8. Betrayal's sting. Frankie fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. He agreed to the plan. He even seemed eager. Too eager. The night of the heist arrived. Johnny and his men were in position, waiting for Frankie's signal. The trap was set, but something was wrong. Frankie wasn't in position. He wasn't answering his phone. Johnny felt a chill run down his spine. Suddenly, police sirens wailed in the distance. They were everywhere, surrounding the warehouse. Johnny had been played. Section 9. The Fall of the King. It was a bloodbath. Johnny's men fought back, but they were outnumbered, outgunned. There was no escape. Johnny watched in horror as his empire crumbled around him, his men gunned down, his power slipping away. He managed to escape the warehouse, but he was a hunted animal now, alone, betrayed by the two people he trusted most. He knew he couldn't outrun his past. Not this time. The city he had ruled was now his prison. Section 10. Aftermath. News of the massacre spread like wildfire. Johnny the Knife Malone, the city's most feared gangster, brought down in a single night. Some mourned his loss. Others celebrated his demise. The streets of Little Italy were in chaos. A power vacuum. Frankie vanished. Some say he fled the city with Russo's money. Others believe he was silenced. A loose end. Russo remained untouchable, a ghost in the shadows. He had eliminated his rival and tightened his grip on the city. Section 11. Legacy of the Knife. In the heart of the city, where the sun sets behind towering buildings, casting long shadows over the gritty streets, a legend was born. Johnny the Knife Malone became a legend. His name echoed through the alleys and back streets, a symbol of fear and respect. A cautionary tale whispered in hushed tones. His story was passed down like a dark secret, a warning to those who dared to follow in his footsteps. A reminder that power is fleeting. No matter how strong or feared, time erodes all, leaving only memories and whispers. He was a product of his environment. The harsh realities of inner-city life shaped him, molded him into the man he became, the streets of Little Italy. A place where culture and crime intertwined, where every corner held a story, and every story had a dark side. where survival meant betraying or being betrayed. Trust was a luxury few could afford, and alliances were as fragile as glass. In the end, Johnny was consumed by the very world he helped create. The shadows he once controlled turned against him, swallowing him whole. A world of shadows and whispers, a place where every step could be your last, and every whisper could be your undoing, where loyalty was a lie. And the knife? It was more than just a weapon. It was a symbol of his rise and fall. It was found years later. Rusted and forgotten, it resurfaced as a relic of a bygone era. In a pawn shop downtown, amongst the clutter of lost dreams and broken promises, it lay waiting to tell its story once more. A silent reminder of the man who lived and died by its edge. Johnny the Knife Malone, a name that will forever be etched in the annals of the city's dark history.